What is up, my beautiful guys, girls, gays, and nays? Welcome back to I Said What I Said! Yay! Hey guys, how are you? I'm really excited to speak to you today because this episode is very proudly sponsored by Hinge. We're speaking about something kind of important to me. That's dating in the queer community. Because it's difficult and it's messy, but it can also be extremely liberating. This episode is especially important because it is sponsored by Hinge's 2025 D.A.T.E report. Thank you so much, Hinge, for sponsoring this video, and I can't wait to get into all of the details and statistics with you. Today, we're diving into something that I know many of us deal with, but don't speak out loud, and that is dating beyond labels. As a trans woman navigating a world that loves boxes, I'm saying no thanks, okay? No thanks. I don't want to be put in a box anymore. So we're going to discuss everything to do with my experience in dating, tips for you guys, and how Hinge comes into all of this. So essentially, Hinge did a D.A.T.E report, D-A.T.E report, okay? They analyzed loads of information from their users, did a bunch of interviews, and it's really interesting what they discovered, especially when it comes to the queer community, which I think has so many stigmas attached to it when it comes to dating. I definitely have had my experiences. And as I was reading this report that had a bunch of statistics, there were two that really stood out to me that I thought was so interesting that I wanted to discuss with you today. I definitely relate to these, 100%. I related to basically all of them, which is crazy because it just proves how tight the queer community is. We all be going through the same thing. But I wanted to speak about two in particular. Okay, so here's a stat that really intrigued me. Apparently 45% of LGBTQIA plus daters on Hinge have thought about dating someone outside their usual gender or gender expression. And as a trans person, like, my first reaction was like, oh, just 45%? What about the other 55%? Haven't met me yet. Like, no, I'm joking. For me, I don't think this stat is surprising at all. I find it actually quite affirming. Attraction doesn't follow rules, and it's certainly not a checklist. And the more we try to let go of fitting people into categories, the more real and honestly way hotter our connections become, period. Another statistic from the D.A.T.E report was that 28% of LGBTQIA plus daters experience label fatigue. So when I saw that Hinge dropped this stat, I was like, that is me. As a trans person, I really relate to that. Like, I'm trans, I'm part of the LGBTQ community, but I'm not a robot. Don't get me wrong, like, I love the language that we have now when it comes to our representative labels and stuff. Of course, labels can be really powerful and healing even. But sometimes I just want to vibe, okay? I just want to chill. I want someone to see me. You know, like, not my glossary. The next date I'm going on, I promise you I am skipping that seminar. I can't be bothered to explain my whole life story. And should I have to? No, that's called label fatigue. Let me tell you a little anecdote, a little story time about a date that I had not too long ago. I'd say it was like 6 months ago. That was shocking. This directly correlates to label fatigue. I have experienced it multiple times, but thinking of this experience right now, it is clearly related. So I'll tell you about this one date, right? They messaged me with, I've never dated a trans person before, but I'm open-minded. And I'm sitting there, right? Like, whenever anyone messages me this, I'm like, wow, that is so generous of you. Anyway, we get talking, and he ends up asking me on a date, and I go, because I'm bored. You know, sometimes you're hopeful, sometimes you're bored, and, you know, sometimes you just want to prove a point to yourself that you can do that. And within the first, 10 minutes, this person is clearly, obsessed. But not with me, but with the idea of me, if you're catching my drift. It's like the way they're talking to me, they're, mentally collecting diversity points or something. I don't know, I'm a cool subculture. That's how I felt. I felt like I was, an alt girl. Because I'm trans. They kept calling me feminine, but edgy. Honey, I'm not a boutique candle. This is the crazy thing that they said, which kind of shocked me. I like that you're not too femme. You've still got that masculine edge. Huh? What? What did you just say? Jesus Christ, do you want to date me or do you want to build a custom character? I think that moment really hit something for me. Because even when I think I'm being seen, I still feel like I'm being filtered through this like lens of expectation for someone's fantasy or experiment. And it's quite a common occurrence for queer people, I think. Well, I know. And it gets exhausting. It really does. Like, do I really have to explain my whole self over and over again to each person that I go on a date with? That's label fatigue right there. Constantly having to explain the right way to date me. And for a long time, I really thought I had to, curate myself, like more feminine, less feminine, more soft, more spicy, just to fit someone else's idea of what they think a trans woman is supposed to be. Okay, but I'll tell you what, right? Here's what changed. I stopped doing the whole performance. I stopped anticipating what other people were going to think of me when I went on these dates, and I just essentially started being in myself. I mean, I got real about my type of fluidity, about not fitting very neatly in like masc or feminine boxes. And essentially, you could say that I just wanted connection and not correction. Period. I guess something shifted ever since then, because I started being a lot more selective with who I was dating and meeting people who weren't looking to like figure me out. They just want to know me as a person, regardless of what I label as, my gender expression, anything, just me, the inside. And I can't lie, it feels good to be in spaces where you don't have to shrink yourself or oversell or have to educate someone. So yeah, if you're listening and feeling the label fatigue too, I get it. I promise. But when you stop bending to be understood, the right people will show up. And you won't have to give a whole script performance about who you are. I don't know. In my 20 years of life, I've had surprisingly quite a lot of experience when it comes to dating and dating the wrong people. I think that label fatigue is a really interesting idea. And when I saw that on the Hinge date report, that specific statistic, I was like, damn, I've never even thought of that before. Like how I feel tired of having to over-explain myself. Like obviously I felt that emotion and felt like, why am I doing this? But I haven't given it the deeper thought of, wow, I shouldn't be doing this. Do you know what I mean? And it's kind of like, I guess I feel less lonely knowing that there is a lot of other people that are going through the same thing. Honestly, thank you to Hinge for kind of seeing and hearing out these people and listening to them. I think that's also one of the great things about Hinge is that, you can really fine tune your preferences. I mean, as a trans woman, I always put trans women on my profile. That is like a big thing for me. I don't want to have to lie to people. I don't want to have to, pretend to be something I'm not. I'm trans and I'm proud of it. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, sometimes it causes questions, but it's on my bio. So you can, do your research yourself. But when you meet me, you're going to know, period. I mean, recently I had a match and someone said, just wanted to ask, is the trans woman in your bio genuine? Excuse me? Excuse me! What do you mean? What do you mean, is it genuine? Obviously it's genuine. Why would I put it there if it wasn't? And thank you to Hinge for giving me that feature. You know what I mean? Thank you. And thank you for letting me attract bi men. Because you can put it in your preferences and stuff like that. Another thing that the 2025 Hinge date report suggested to me was fluidity in dating, beyond type. Because for a while, I thought that I had a specific type, and I had to stick to that type. And I was only liking and matching with people of that type. And I realized how limiting that is for myself. And I think also as I've grown older, I've kind of realized that type isn't everything and you can find attraction anywhere. I mean, there have been multiple times where I've literally been swiping on Hinge and I've liked someone that I never would have liked 2 years ago. Do you know what I mean? Because I think I'm learning that you can be fluid in who you're attracted to. You don't have to be attracted to a specific type of person just because you've had those experiences before with a specific person like that. Because dating beyond your default doesn't mean that you're abandoning who you are. It's about giving ourselves permission to grow. I think so. Sometimes it's fun to break your own type. Everyone has something that they like more than something else, of course, and that's totally respectable. If you still want to keep your type, keep it. But I mean, I guess I encourage people to step out of their comfort zone because, you know, I've met some really amazing people that I never would have expected to be attracted to, only because I was like taking a chance on it. Sometimes you take a chance on it, doesn't go as well as you'd hoped. That's fine too. You know, it's all about experimenting and trying out new things. And I think in our generation specifically, that's becoming increasingly more common. You know, me and Hinge, we've had a brilliant relationship. We're tight. We're tight. I find it to be the most comfortable for LGBTQ people. Like, I feel safe. Do you know what I mean? And I think that's really important. And you know what? I really encourage you to go check out the 2025 Hinge date report. You're allowed to be fluid and evolving and curious. The date report has so many stories from people all across the spectrum and loads of statistics that are super interesting. People just like you and me. It's relatable. It really did inspire me. Like, I love hearing other people's dating stories. It makes me feel less alone in the things that I'm struggling with, and also makes me feel more happy about the things that are going well.
Are you feeling stuck in your career or lacking employment at the moment? Experiencing symptoms of job dissatisfaction? You might be suffering from a common condition known as career stagnation. But don't worry, there's a solution. Monster.com. Monster.com offers a comprehensive suite of career-boosting tools designed just for you. Our free resume review and AI interview prep tool will help you stand out from the crowd. Need more guidance? Dive into our career advice articles for expert tips and insights. And don't forget to check out our salary tools to ensure you're getting paid what you're worth. Side effects may include a new job, increased confidence, and a brighter future. Consult Monster.com today and take the first step towards your new career. Ready for your next job opportunity? Visit Monster.com now.
Once again, I really encourage you to check the link in the description to see Hinge's 2025 LGBTQIA plus date report. I just want to thank Hinge again for sponsoring this week's episode. Do you know what's crazy? In my dating experience as a trans woman, I've definitely had my ups and downs. And I wanted to speak about an experience that I had. I was in a relationship for almost a year, and it took me 10 months to realize that they were the biggest chaser I've ever met in my life. And I was just turned 19, about a few months before I turned 19, that I started this relationship with this person. Listen, I'm really grateful for the experience that I had because it was my first ever relationship and my only ever relationship I've ever been in. Cry. No, it's okay. Yeah, it was a strange experience because I can't lie, for the first 6 months, I was head over heels for this person. The reason why is because I'd never experienced that before. I'd only experienced, you know, fetishization and being treated like a toy or having these, you know, very meaningless situationships that I ended up just being an experiment for these people. I think it's a very common occurrence for a lot of trans women, especially, is that still in this day, there are guys, people, whoever, that, you know, are very accepting and know what they want and are okay with what they want. But there's always going to be that group of people in which we call chasers that can't truly accept that they, you know, fancy trans women. And because of that, make bad decisions or use trans women for their own kind of guilty pleasure. This guy that I was seeing, I really liked him. Like, I really liked him because he was my type and I felt like so lucky, which is really sad. I felt so lucky because there was this guy that was just doing the bare minimum, like literally the bare minimum. Like, he forgot Valentine's Day. He literally forgot Valentine's Day. I'm not joking. Like, I bought him so many presents and I planned a date with him, and I think he didn't even realize that it was Valentine's Day. Don't get me wrong, he was from a completely different culture. I still think they celebrate Valentine's Day in that culture. But I remember going on a date and I remember bringing my presents and being like, here. And he was like, what's this for? And I was like, oh. And do you know what? I went along with it because I thought that was the best I was going to get, which is really fucking sad. And it's sad that, you know, a lot of trans women face this. I mean, for the first 6 months, like, I kind of bent over backwards for this person. Like, I don't know why I did all that. It took me about 6 months to realize that this is kind of strange. And I think I'm only being used for pleasure, which is a shame. And within about 3 to 4 months after those 6 months is when I was realizing all of this. I did end up breaking up with him. To be fair, I think he was cheating on me. There we go. I said it. I think he was cheating on me. He had problems with his ex. He also, I just didn't trust it by the end of it because there were some weird things that happened. Like I saw some gold hoops in his apartment, earrings that weren't mine. Weren't mine. I never wear gold, number one, as we can tell, and I never wear hoops. So I was like, whose are these? And he was like, oh, they're my ex's that she left here like a year ago. And I was like, okay, so you're telling me that your ex left a pair of gold hoops that were just randomly in the corner of your room and you just haven't moved them for a year? Okay, that's kind of weird. Okay, don't lie to me. There was a lot of lying going on. And I realized that I think he just wanted to be with me because I was this like weird kind of enigma in his life that was different to everything he's ever had. And that happens a lot for fetishization with trans women. I find that a lot of these guys want something that they've never had before and want this fantasy, but never want to truly lock in with it. He never wanted to introduce me to his friends, never introduced me to his parents. And it took me a really long time to realize that I was kind of a secret. I mean, I introduced him to my friends. He didn't seem to have a problem with seeing my friends because they were so separate from his own life. It took me a while to kind of realize what was truly going on. And I was really sad about it, to be fair. And it made me think that that was the best I was ever going to get. And that was really sad. A lot of trans women face this situation of settling for the bare minimum, you know, because of label fatigue, because they don't want to have to explain themselves all the time. And they think that, you know, it's so limited out there for us anyway, as a minority, that these bum men we take and we hold on to for as long as we can. It took me a while to get out of that stage. Don't get me wrong. I've still had situationships, even recently. I've still had situations where, you know, I fell for the wrong person. Happens a lot to me, to be fair. Maybe I just don't have the best taste in men. I think we know this already, to be fair. But, you know, I think that is one of the interesting things about the LGBTQIA plus date report that Hinge did, was because there was such an analysis into, you know, the fatigue that LGBTQIA plus people feel when it comes to dating. It's really hard. It is really hard. I struggle a lot with it because you think you find people that, you know, want you for you, but in reality, they're just experimenting and don't really know how to say that. I guess you could say that, you know, a lot of trans women go for very straight men, and typically that is my type, unfortunately. I mean, technically a man is still straight for wanting to date me. There is a toxic masculinity within those types of people. My ex definitely had that toxic masculinity, and it ruined a lot in our relationship because there was an awful communication and he never seemed to truly understand the way I was feeling about things, about us. I still don't regret being with him. I don't, because I needed that experience. I needed that experience to realize what my worth was and who I really needed to be with. I guess it just kind of brings me back to the idea of, you know, really understanding your worth. This can go for trans women, this can go for cis women, this can go for men, non-binary people, everyone, to be fair. It's about knowing your worth, you know, realizing when you feel like you are being used rather than appreciated. That's really important. You need to feel appreciated. You need to feel appreciated in a relationship. Like, that is one of the most important things for me specifically, is, you know, that when the partner can reinforce that they want you for you and they enjoy your mind and not your body or what you know, represent in your identity. You know, for so long and for like years, decades, trans women have been fetishized. Do you know what I mean? It's just it's a very normal thing. I mean, that's why we have the word chaser. Chaser means a man that specifically chases trans women because they are a guilty pleasure for them. And it is so difficult. It is so difficult. I wish that, it was easier. Nowadays, I do think that there has been an improvement. I think maybe I've also grown up a bit. So I realized who is good for me and who is not good for me. I definitely think that, with the new kind of like preferences and stuff like that you can have on dating apps such as Hinge and stuff like that, can make it a little bit easier to find people that aren't looking for just a casual secret and are more looking for something serious. I recently have had quite a few little casual things and realized that I just can't do it. I literally just can't do it. I just can't do casual. I tried. It's hard. It is hard. I'm too much of an emotional person and I care about people too much and I give too much of myself. So when I remember that, we're just casual, not even exclusive, kind of like breaks me inside a little bit because I only have enough energy to focus on one person at a time. Sometimes I don't understand how these guys are seeing multiple women at the same time. I can't. I physically can't. I literally physically can't do it. I struggle so much with that. It's really hard. And I care too much about one specific person at one time. I only want to put my energy into that one person. Because what's the point? What's the point of doing a bunch of people at the same time, having a whole roster of men or women or whatever? That's so difficult. It's too much time consuming. I struggle enough to speak to one guy all day. Do you know what I mean? It depends on the person, to be fair. If you like them enough, it's really not a problem. But I've had my experience with that. I don't know. I think that nowadays I'm looking for something that is more meaningful, and I'm looking for someone that cares about my mind and my talents and my goals and all of these kind of stuff, instead of just the way I look or what I can be for them. Wow, damn, that just hit deep, because it's like, some of these men are quite, narcissistic or self-centered, especially chasers, because they only want what benefits them. And when they begin to hurt you, they just get rid of you. If you bring it up, they're just like, oh, okay, on to the next. Doesn't matter. They satisfied me for a bit, but now I can leave and not care. It's an experience I've had many a time, even when I was very young, even before I came out as trans, when I was like seeing guys and stuff like that. I was so young as well. I did it because I felt like I had to in order to catch up to everyone else around me. And it was really difficult to be kept as an experiment or a secret. I even, was trying to protect myself from that all the time, but it would just happen no matter what. I think I was also a lot younger then, so I let things happen to me that I shouldn't have. Now I realize what I need. And the Hinge date report, like as I was reading it, I was like, damn, like I'm so not alone. Do you know what I mean? Sometimes I really feel that I am alone in this. Like I speak to other my friends that are like dating people and stuff like that, and I'm like, God damn, like, am I the problem here? But no, I'm not. And you're not either. Don't worry. It's just, it's just the way it is sometimes for my community. I've learned to accept that. And I'm moving on happily, knowing that that is a part of my life, and sometimes it will be unavoidable. Period. We're growing, we're strong, we're iconic. Once again, thank you so much, Hinge, for sponsoring today's episode. And I really hope you enjoyed. Tune in to next week's episode. Like, comment, subscribe, do everything you need to do. I love you all so much. See you in the next one. Bye.